All right, get ready, because today we're diving deep into a book that's like a cheat sheet for unlocking your creative genius.
Ooh, I like that.
Austin Kleon's Steel, like an artist.
Definitely a must-read for anyone who wants to make something amazing.
No matter what you're into, art, music, business, even just wanting a more interesting life,
This book is for you.
I think you're going to love this one.
It really makes you rethink how we view creativity.
And it throws down this gauntlet right from the get-go.
Oh, yeah.
Good artists copy, great artists steal.
That's Cleon for you.
Definitely makes you stop and think steal. I mean,
Right.
isn't that like a bad thing?
He's not talking about plagiarism.
Okay, good.
It's more about the idea that all creative work comes from what came before.
I see.
Think of it like a relay race,
Yeah.
passing the baton from one runner to the next.
So instead of trying to invent something totally new,
Yeah.
we should be looking at what inspires us, taking those pieces and making them our own.
Exactly. It's about recognizing we're part of a lineage of ideas. Cleon uses the analogy of a family tree.
Okay,
We inherit physical traits from our ancestors.
right.
We also inherit ideas, styles, approaches from the artists, writers, musicians, and thinkers who've influenced us.
I like that. So this stealing thing, how do we actually do it?
Wow.
If I look at my bookshelf right now, am I supposed to start copying sentences from my favorite authors?
No, not quite. Let's think about how a musician might steal from their influences.
Okay.
They might break down a song they love, figure out the chords, the rhythm, the structure.
So they're deconstructing it to see how it works.
Exactly. It's not about blindly copying.
Mm,
It's about analyzing what makes something great and then figuring out how to apply those principles to your own work.
makes sense. I guess it's like taking a recipe and adding your own twist to make it your own.
Exactly. Cleon calls it transformative borrowing.
I like that. But how do you avoid just becoming a copycat? How do you find your own voice?
That's where Cleon, the concept of the swipe file, comes in.
Okay, tell me more.
He encourages us to actively collect things that inspire us.
Oh, so you mean like quotes, images, techniques.
Anything that sparks your creative fire.
I feel like I kind of do that already with Pinterest boards.
That's a great example of a digital swipe file.
Yeah.
The key is to be choosy about what you collect.
Right. Not just hoarding random stuff.
Yeah, pick things that truly resonate with you.
Yeah.
Things you can see yourself using as raw material for your own work.
So like a library of inspiration.
Yeah, a toolbox of ideas you can draw from when you need a boost or a new direction.
I can see how looking back at what you've collected would help you see patterns in your taste and understand how your style has developed.
It's like creating a map of your creative DNA.
That's pretty cool.
And that map can help you pinpoint what makes you unique, what you bring to the table that no one else can.
So it sounds like you're saying instead of trying to erase our influences, we should be embracing them, learning from them, using them as fuel.
Yes, and one of the best ways to learn is to try to emulate them.
Okay.
Cleon doesn't shy away from the idea of copy.
But not just ripping someone off, right?
Right. It's more about studying their techniques and understanding what makes their work tick.
Like reverse engineering a masterpiece.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm not a fake if I'm trying to learn by copying my heroes.
Not all.
But how do I go from imitation to making something truly my own?
That's where Cleon's advice to fake it till you make it comes in.
I'm intrigued.
He's not saying be phony,
Okay.
but act as if you're already the artist, the writer, the entrepreneur you dream of being.
So setting the stage for your creative self.
Yes, creating an environment that supports your creative goals.
I like that. He tells that story about Patti Smith and Robert Mapplethorpe, right?
Yes. When they first moved to New York City,
Yeah.
they'd dress up like artists and hang out in Washington Square Park, even though they hadn't really created anything yet.
It's like they were creating a persona.
A public image that matched their aspirations.
And people started treating them like artists.
Exactly. Sometimes we need to act the part before we feel fully confident.
It's like creating an external environment to match your internal vision.
Exactly.
And that can help with feeling like an imposter.
Right. Which so many creative people struggle with.
Yeah, especially when starting out.
Cleon says those feelings are often a sign that you're pushing yourself, trying new things.
So instead of being paralyzed by them,
Use them as fuel, as a sign you're on the right path.
so self-doubt is part of the process, but don't let it stop you from creating.
Exactly.
This is making so much sense. I feel like I have permission to stop stressing about being original
Good.
and just focus on learning, experimenting, and having fun.
That's the spirit. Cleon reminds us that creativity is a process, not a destination.
I love that.
It's about enjoying the journey, embracing the messiness, and trusting your own voice will come through.
This is already so inspiring. But we've only just scratched the surface.
Oh yeah, there's so much more.
I'm ready for part 2.
Welcome back. Ready for more? Steal like an artist.
Oh yeah, hit me with it.
We've been talking about finding your voice and learning from your heroes. But Kleon also has some really interesting ideas about the creative process itself.
Yeah, like his emphasis on analog tools. In a world that's so digital, it's kind of surprising to hear someone praising pen and paper.
I know, right? It's easy to think creativity has to be high-tech, super polished.
Especially with social media always raising the bar.
Totally.
Yeah.
But Kleon argues that sometimes the best creativity comes from the messy, tactile world of analog tools.
I totally get that. I've spent hours messing with fonts and formatting on my computer and just ended up feeling stuck.
It happens.
There's something about getting your hands dirty, literally, that just sparks different parts of your brain.
For sure.
Huh.
Think about sketching with charcoal or molding clay.
Yeah.
You're really connected to those materials, feeling them, experiencing the process in a way you can't digitally.
Kleon even suggests having 2 separate workspaces.
Yes.
One analog, one digital.
To emphasize those different mindsets.
I love that. What would that actually look like?
So picture this. Your analog space is all about messy exploration. It's overflowing with notebooks, paints, scraps of fabric, whatever your thing is.
I like it.
It's where you go to brainstorm, to play with ideas, to make a mess without worrying about perfection.
Freedom.
Right. Then once you have something you want to refine, you move to your digital space,
Okay.
which is all about editing, polishing, and sharing.
It's like having a playground and a lab.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Each serving its own purpose.
Sold. I'm making an analog corner this weekend. Speaking of creating, Kleon also talks about the digital world.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, how the internet connects creators and audiences.
He's all about using the internet to share your work, find your tribe, build community.
But isn't it easy to get lost in all that online content?
It can be.
It feels like everyone's trying to be an influencer these days.
That's true.
Mm.
But Kleon has some tips for standing out.
Oh, good.
He says focus on sharing snippets of your process.
Instead of just the finished product.
Yeah. Give people a glimpse behind the scenes, show them how you work, invite them along on the journey.
People connect with that authenticity, I think.
Definitely. It makes creativity feel more accessible, less intimidating.
Kleon also talks about being generous online.
Yes.
Commenting on others' work, sharing resources, building a positive community.
Like his idea of public fan letters.
Oh, I loved that.
Instead of just admiring someone's work privately.
Shout it from the rooftops.
Exactly. Write a blog post, create a piece of art, even just a tweet expressing your admiration.
It's celebrating the work that moves you.
And recognizing its impact on you.
Imagine how encouraging it would be to receive one of those.
It's giving back to the creative community.
Creating a cycle of inspiration and support.
And you might even make a new friend or collaborator.
Speaking of collaboration, Kleon also talks about finding your tribe online.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of creative people, myself included, can feel isolated sometimes.
Especially if you don't live in a big city.
Kleon says the internet can help with that.
It can, for sure. He suggests finding online communities that match your interests.
Writing groups, art forums.
Niche subreddits,
Yeah.
whatever you're into.
And actually participating in them.
Yes. Sharing your work, asking questions, supporting others.
It goes back to his point about saying nice things online.
It does.
If you want to connect with people, be positive.
It's so simple, but so important. What about the negative side of the internet, though?
Yeah, it's easy to get sucked into arguments, negativity, comparison traps.
Kleon's wife gave him some great advice.
Oh, what's that?
Quit picking fights on Twitter and go make something.
Love that.
It's a reminder that our time and energy are precious.
It's better to focus on creating than on arguing online.
Exactly. And Kleon also reminds us that not everyone is going to like our work.
Which is okay.
It is. You can't please everyone. Trying to will just stifle you.
So focus on the work you want to make.
And the people who will get it.
Even successful creators face criticism and rejection.
It's part of the process.
Easier said than done, though, right? To not worry about the haters.
It's tough. But Kleon suggests making a praise file.
A praise file? What's that?
A place where you keep all the positive feedback and encouragement you've gotten.
Like a first aid kit for your ego.
Exactly. When you're feeling down, you can look back at those messages and remember that your work matters.
I like that I'm making a praise folder in my email right now. But even with confidence, being creative isn't always easy.
It's not.
It takes discipline, self-motivation, especially when you're juggling other things.
Work, family life in general.
How does Kleon deal with that balancing act?
He's a big believer in routine and structure.
Even for free spirits.
Even then, He believes that a regular schedule helps you make consistent progress.
But what about spontaneity and inspiration?
It's not about being rigid or joyless. It's about finding a rhythm that works for you.
Okay.
He suggests setting aside a specific time each day to work on your creative projects.
Even if it's just 30 minutes.
Even then, it's like making a date with your muse.
You wouldn't stand up a friend for coffee.
Exactly.
And he has that tip from Jerry Seinfeld for consistency.
Oh yeah, the don't break the chain method.
Tell me about it.
You get a calendar and mark an X on each day. You do your creative task. The goal is to keep that chain of X's going as long as possible.
I love that visual reminder.
It helps you track your progress and stay motivated.
Seeing that unbroken chain would definitely make me want to keep showing up.
It's about turning creative work into something you actually do regularly.
Kleon also talks about the importance of self-care, right?
Yes. Yeah. He debunks the myth of the tortured artist.
Yeah.
He says creativity flourishes when we take care of ourselves.
Sleep, healthy food, exercise, stress management.
What was that?
It's hard to be creative when you're running on empty.
And he also stresses the importance of a supportive community.
Friends, family mentors, people who believe in you.
He calls it marrying well.
Not just romantically.
Right. It's about choosing your inner circle wisely.
Surrounding yourself with people who inspire and challenge you.
And who encourage you to be your best creative self.
So Kleon is saying that a fulfilling creative life is about more than just making things.
It's about building a whole ecosystem to support your creative goals.
Including being realistic about money.
Exactly.
Let's talk about that elephant in the room.
Okay, how do you make a living as a creative person?
Kleon doesn't sugarcoat it.
Okay.
Making a living from your art can be tough, and it takes time.
So should we all just give up and get real jobs?
Not necessarily. He says, find a day job that pays the bills but doesn't crush your soul.
Okay.
And look for jobs that teach you skills that could be useful for your creative work.
Like his experience working in libraries.
Yes. It gave him a deep appreciation for research and organization, which are super important for writers.
It's about making your day job work for you.
Exactly.
And it's okay to have multiple passions.
Yeah, absolutely.
To let those interests feed into each other.
Kleon loves the idea of being a multi-hyphenate.
Having different streams of income and creative outlets.
It makes you more well-rounded.
I love that message.
Mm.
It's freeing to think you don't have to pick one path and stick to it.
You can explore, experiment, see where your curiosity leads.
This has been so insightful.
But I'm ready to hear what Kleon has to say about actually building a creative career.
Let's do it.
Bring on part 3. Okay, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Steal Like an Artist.
The grand finale.
We've talked about everything from embracing our influences to finding our tribe online.
It's been quite a journey.
But now I want to know what Kleon says about actually building a lasting career as a creative person.
Ah, yes, the million-dollar question.
It can feel pretty daunting.
Especially in today's world.
Exactly. So how do we do it?
Cleo's got a really interesting take on this.
Okay.
He says one of the keys is shifting your focus from seeking validation to just doing the work.
That's easier said than done, though, right?
It is. It's easy to get caught up in chasing likes and followers.
Oh, yeah, all those external markers of success.
But those things can be so fleeting.
They don't always reflect the true value of your work.
Exactly. Kleon says we should find satisfaction in the process itself.
In the act of creating.
Yes, the work is its own reward.
I love that. It takes the pressure off. But let's be honest, even if you're passionate about your work, there will be days when you just don't feel like doing it.
Absolutely. Motivation ebbs and flows.
So how do you stay on track when the inspiration runs dry?
Kleon's a big believer in habits.
Okay.
He says creativity isn't just about waiting for inspiration.
It's about showing up consistently, even when you don't feel like it.
Yes. He suggests creating a routine for your creative work.
So even if it's just for a little bit each day, make it a habit.
Exactly. It's like treating your creative practice like a muscle.
You have to exercise it regularly.
Exactly. Instead of waiting for some magical burst of energy.
He also talks about having a dedicated workspace, right?
He does. Doesn't have to be anything fancy.
Just a signal to your brain that it's time to create.
Yeah. A corner of your bedroom, a spot at the kitchen table, whatever works.
And minimize distractions.
Absolutely. Turn off your phone, close your email, just focus.
Oh man, that's so hard these days.
I know.
Yeah.
But Kleon says it's essential for deep work.
It's about protecting your creative energy.
Like guarding a precious resource.
Which is something we could all benefit from, not just creative people.
I agree. It's about recognizing your limits and making conscious choices about how you spend your time and energy.
And that includes self-care.
Yes.
Mm.
Taking care of yourself is
Mhm.
crucial.
Making time for things that nourish your mind, body, and spirit.
Absolutely. And remember, you don't have to do this alone.
Right. Cleon talks about marrying well.
Yes. Surround yourself with people who support your creative goals.
Friends, colleagues, mentors.
People you can rely on for encouragement and inspiration,
Building a community that lifts you up.
and helps you stay on track when things get tough.
It's all starting to make sense now.
Right?
Steal from your heroes, build a swipe file, find your tribe, take care of yourself, do the work.
It sounds simple.
But there's so much wisdom in those ideas.
Kleon is a master at distilling complex concepts into actionable advice.
And he does it with such a playful and encouraging tone.
He makes creativity feel accessible to everyone.
Not just some elite group of geniuses.
Exactly. That's what I love about Steele.
An artist.
It takes the mystery out of the creative process.
And empowers anyone to tap into their own potential.
Well, I think we've thoroughly explored Steele like an artist.
We've definitely unearthed some gems.
If you're feeling inspired, I highly recommend checking out the book for yourself.
It's full of wisdom, encouragement, and practical advice,
You could apply it to any creative pursuit.
no matter your skill level or experience.
So go forth, dear listeners, and steal like an artist.
Embrace your influences.
Find your voice.
And make the work that only you can make.
The world is waiting to see what you create.
Until next time, happy creating.
I see ya.